Hi everyone, I'm Ken from Crypto Trading KS. If you're new, welcome, and welcome back to our regular community. You know what to do. Let's run the numbers. Bitcoin currently trading at 39,349, up 2.6%. Ethereum trading at 2686, up 6.64%. Let's have a look at the Ethereum tokens. Uni up 8.56%, Aave up 11.43%. I've hidden knowledge gems throughout this video. Unless you watch to the end, you'll miss them. See how many you can find. I'd like to introduce you to Rule 58. Be aware of negative air. This is a really powerful rule. Negativity can be a really big problem in our life, especially in trading and investing. Awareness of negativity is the first step towards courage. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's time travel back to the 14th of April 21, when Bitcoin was starting to break down. You see this trend line here. The high here didn't make it to this trend line. That created what is called negative air. That's what I call negative air. When price came down and couldn't come back up, that negative air increased in volume. This particular line that was providing support was shot through on volume. That's a big problem. Price didn't regain that trend line. That created negative air as well. At this stage, I didn't have the YouTube channel. I was just putting out information to the thought influencers on YouTube and saying, there is a problem here. I think you need to tell your people about it. But what I was met with was, go all in and more. It'll never be cheaper. The blow off top, the melt your face off rally is next. And you know what happened. Bang, down we came. It's a really important thing to be aware of negative air. Negative air drives sell-offs. This is a really vital and important knowledge gem that you can take with you for the entirety of your investing and trading life. It's really powerful. Coming back to this quote, awareness of negativity is just the first step towards courage. You have to be able to pull the trigger too. In a case like this, to risk off, to take some of the holdings off the table when there was so much extreme greed in the market would have been an entirely courageous move, but it was the right move to do. I've heard so many stories from the community about how they were pulled in around this peak. If you were pulled in around this peak by the media, the press, the influencers, please let me know in the comments. I'd really like to understand that. Rule 174, we're looking at the trend. Using the KS process to determine the true trend. The first thing we do is to look at the relativities across investment classifications. S&P 500 up 32%, gold, poor old gold, it's getting a hammering. It's down 11% now. And Bitcoin digital gold is up 239%. I'm always looking for increased quality in these videos. I want to give you the absolute best quality information I can give you every single episode. Mining reward value, 36.3 million active addresses, 820,918. We're going to show you a different way to look at that today. If you go into blockchain.com, miner revenue, USD, you can see the interplay of the revenues per day. I think this is a really cool chart. I love to share these things with you. I don't know if you've noticed, but if you have a look at influencers on YouTube, they always hide the sources of their information. It's so annoying. If you've come across that and you agree with me, why don't you pop a comment in the comment section? I'd be really interested to know your perspective. Looking at the number of active addresses for Bitcoin, if you go into Glassnode and search for that, you will get this particular diagram. Here we can see 883,068 addresses. You can track these addresses every day and overlay them on Bitcoin's price. I think that's a really good resource for you too. Let's go through the KS early warning system to detect if Bitcoin's trend is changing adversely. The first thing we look at is the KS model, which is a crypto technical trading model based on institutional price psychology. We are currently in the bull market psychology phase of the market. It's incredibly important to compare same psychologies. Sunlight of the bull market to sunlight of the bull market to sunlight of the bull market. Darkness to darkness, dawn to dawn. It's really vital that you do that. I've seen so many influencers comparing psychological sunshine when overwhelming euphoria is realistically in the market to the bear market where overwhelming negativity psychologically is at play. You can't compare these two meaningfully in a mathematically correct manner. I'll just zoom in to the current phase of the KS model. This green line here is the 2016 halving cycle, which lasted 526 days. You can see it in green. The 2012 halving cycle, the bull market section of that, lasted 367 days. You can see that playing out here in blue. I have a background in mathematics, having been a stats lecturer, first and second year stats, for many years. I know that you cannot mess with the data. You have to be very, very consistent. In other words, the data has to have integrity. I've seen many models shifting these things around, these fractals of past price. I would suggest that's not a very good idea. Just let the data be. Whatever it is. One thing that I would like to draw to your attention, of course, when I do this green line, what is I believe in full integrity of data. Well, everything actually. Integrity is really important. Here, this blue fractal has been normalized, stretched out to match the green, and these have been overlaid on the current price action. One thing that you should be aware of, the bull market psychology in the 2012 halving cycle lasted 367 days. In the 2016 halving cycle, it lasted 43% more, a total of 526 days. Many people think that the bull market will come to an end exactly the same number of days as the last halving cycle. I think that's overlooking the fact that we've got a rather large increase in here. So I've tacked on that increase to get us to the 25th of May 2022. Now, it's important to understand that I'm not worried about adjusting this right at this moment. We're focused on the sort of mid to late October timeframe. Please be aware that I do not believe probabilistically that this is the end of the bull market, but I can tell you many people do. In fact, the majority. What gives me a lot of confidence is understanding the technological adoption curve related to cryptocurrency. Cryptos are basically the upgrade, the essential upgrade to the internet of value. When we look at this white line, that is the total global internet users from 2002 to 2006. This area, it was growing crazily at that time. I had an internet service provider. I was one of the providers of internet really back here in 1993. I've seen this stuff before. It's quite fascinating. The total number of crypto users is growing exponentially faster than the internet ever did. It's growing so quickly that 115 million new users were added between January 21 and June 21. That's an average of 19.2 million new users to crypto per month over 6 months. It's also helpful to know that Bitcoin goes through basically 4 phases. Phase 1, a big upshoot. Phase 2, consolidation down the bear market to the capitulation low. Phase 3 is all about consolidation and getting across. Phase 3 and 4 are consolidation phases. Then it gets to phase 1 again. We're just at the start of phase 1. We've got so far to go, but a lot of people are already calling that it's all over. Ouch. I think it's really important to understand that the past does tend to reflect into the future. It can always change, and we're definitely looking for that. We assert that all the models are broken every day that we start, and we see if they actually are, or if they're still valid. A lot of people ask me, Ken, when is your model invalid? Well, as soon as it's invalid, I'll let you know. I'm looking for it every single day. So far, the model is valid. A very important knowledge gem is to understand that Bitcoin and crypto are driven by euphoria, fear of missing out, and capitulation, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. At the current cycle area, we do not see either. That's important. When Bitcoin rallies, there's an enormous amount of relative unrealized profit in the market. When it gets too high at unsustainable levels, the shorts come in and have a field day. They just chomp all of those unrealized profits up. We're not at anywhere near those kind of levels now. When unrealized profits are surging, also the miner reward is going up and up, because the average cost of Bitcoin and all cryptos, but this is Bitcoin in particular, is actually increasing dramatically. It's spiking up exponentially. We're not seeing any exponential spikes. This is the Puel multiple. It's all looking very healthy. There are literally millions of Bitcoin that exist away from exchanges. When we get a peak, we see a massive volume of Bitcoin coming in, being transferred into exchanges to be sold. We can see we're very low in terms of transfers to exchanges. That gives us a lot of positive understanding that we've really got quite a long way to go. Across the world, you'll hear of news outlets talking about potential black swans related to health. We need to look into these. If we're not mindful, your portfolio could suffer an 80 to 90% loss. So we need to track these things. We need to have an early warning system. If we go back to the 12th of Feb to the 13th of March 2020, when Bitcoin sold off 63.32% due to the US liquidity crisis and the impacts of COVID, what we saw was a huge hit to wealth. Now that's a wealth hit that you don't want to take. There were signs of risk emerging, negative air in the markets. We're going to be tracking that every single day to make sure that you are as protected as you can possibly be. Note this, that if you manage to buy down here where capitulation occurs, and that's a thing I'm always looking for to trade, if we can find that, look at this, uptake 172.73%. Just keep these relativities in mind. Down 63, up 172. Not bad if you can take advantage of it. That's another knowledge gem. Another knowledge gem is the fact that the Nasdaq 100 actually decreased around 32%, approximately 50% less than the decrease in Bitcoin when the same thing happened. You notice this incredible sharp sell-off here. That's what we're looking for. If any black swans get into the market, we're seeking to understand them by this kind of sell-off. That's another knowledge gem for you. When looking across the world at the COVID crisis, we can see the weekly case change has increased 11%. Cases in the last 7 days, were 4.248 million. The knowledge gem here that we're looking at, we need to see negative numbers related to the weekly changes. We're starting to get some negative numbers. That's a good sign. Let's rank it by population and see what's happening. We can see China is going up. We can see Japan is being very heavily hit. Ethiopia as well. And there are some decreases. We really want to see very negative numbers. When we see those negative numbers, we will know that we're getting towards the other side of the peak. That's really what we want to see. The KS early warning system, the goal of that is to become the highest quality financial early warning system really on the planet, and it's all free. How awesome is that? If you find anything that can help make this early warning system better and better for you, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. This is a community channel. Everything we do here together is free. I love supporting the community. Let's have a look at market indices. This is how stock markets around the world are performing. When we look at stock markets, we're paying a lot of attention to the US stock market because it's so much larger than any other stock market throughout the world. You can see by this graph, it accounts for so much value. That means any changes in the US market will disproportionately affect the entire world. That's a really important knowledge gem. If you're new to the channel, I'd just like to let you know that everything I do for you is free. 7 days a week, I share my experience as a full-time technical trader with over 20 plus years of experience to assist you to be more of a financial blessing to yourself and those you love. It's really important to gain a macroeconomic global perspective. It really matters. Business cycle, let's have a look. Third quarter 2021. US stock market, largest market in the world. Q3 is here, just in the middle, sort of mid cycle. Canada earlier, China about mid, India early, South Korea early, Japan early, Mexico early, Brazil early, UK just a little bit into recovery, as is Germany, Italy, France, Australia, and Spain. Now let's have a look at their stock markets. The first thing we do is look at the VIX, which is the fear gauge. Now, what do we see? Fear is actually starting to come down a little bit. That's a good thing. The Nasdaq 100 has been on a bit of a tear recently. It's holding this support. I've overlaid the price of Bitcoin so you can see what's happening there. So the Nasdaq 100 is holding support currently. It's just inching up. The S&P 500 is just a little bit below that support. The Russell 2000 has broken below this support. That support is now resistance. The Dow Jones is selling off. It's just coming back to that support. Canada's stock market, the TSX, is above support. China's Shanghai Composite Index has regained that lower level of support, once resistance, and is turning it to support. China's technology index is still under a lot of pressure. It's got a lot of negative air above it. India's Sensex market is on a tear. Look at that. It's just taking off. South Korea's Kospi 200 has done really well. It's broken out of this resistance and it's just coming back in for a retrace, looking strong. Japan's Nikkei 225 is consolidating around that lower support line. Mexico's index broke out from this resistance and is currently just consolidating around there. Brazil's index has shown weakness. The United Kingdom's FTSE 100 is starting to break out from that resistance. It's turned it to support. Germany's DAX 30 is seeking to attack that resistance level above. It has a little way to go yet. Italy's index has broken out from that resistance, turned it to support, and is just consolidating. France's CAC 40 index is showing a lot of strength. Australia continues to do really well. Spain's IBEX 35 is just consolidating around the current price levels. The SMI index, the Swiss index, has broken above resistance, turning it to support. Singapore's index continues to strengthen. Let's now move to the monetary policy early warning system. Monetary policy is all about the management of the money supply and interest rates. Some news just recently from the Wall Street Journal. Federal Reserve Vice Chairman Richard Clarida expects to normalize policy at 2023 by raising the benchmark rate by 0.5 percentage points. This is really important. That means they're going to raise interest rates around the start of next year. So what does that mean to you? Why would you care? That's a really important question to ask. The first thing to understand is asset prices are going up currently. Housing is becoming more and more unaffordable. Inflation is hitting everything from gas prices to groceries. It's not good. People don't have that money to pay. Unemployment is down, which is fantastic because a lot of people are over borrowing, and that increases default risk. Default risk is simply that they can't pay back the money that they owe. There's simply too much money inside the system when the Fed has to increase interest rates. What it's doing is increasing the cost of borrowing by therefore removing money from the system. When debt costs increase, investment goes down. You can get more than 0.1% on your savings account, so you're likely to increase your savings. Savings is actually economically defined as deferred consumption, so consumption will go down. Inflation will go down because there's less money chasing around the same amount of goods. Asset prices will go down. Housing, food, gas, all sorts of prices, commodities, they will go down. Of course, if the asset prices go down, stock market is one of those things, and Bitcoin is another. That will impact growth, but the saving grace here is it's done at the time in the business cycle when things are really kicking off. Only interest rates can only really be increased effectively and sensibly when the economic system is supporting growth on its own. It doesn't need injections of cash. This lowers the default risk, but it also increases the number of defaults and foreclosures and bankruptcies, and there is an offsetting hit to GDP. All of those things actually really matter. So Clarida is saying that the Fed will increase interest rates in early 2023. So we know this is all about taking money out of the system. There's a lot of excess liquidity in the system, so the Fed is trying to get it out of the system by reverse repos. The monetary base is increasing but leveled off. Total assets of the Fed are still on a tear. GDP has a long way to go before it gets back to the pre-COVID levels. A lot of people still need to be employed. It's good that corporate profits after tax are growing. That sustains such a move in increasing interest rates, but that's still a way off, 2023. We can see personal consumption expenditures going up. When interest rates hit, we can foresee that will come down. There is a potential problem with total public debt hitting a debt ceiling. Of course they'll fix it. They can't afford to default. We've seen a slight uptick in the unemployment rate recently, and the employment level as a whole really needs to increase quite a bit until they can increase interest rates. The unemployment population ratio, 25 to 54, still has quite a way to go to recover. Total non-farm private payroll employment is creeping up but still has a way to go. Continued claims insured unemployment is bottoming out. This is good because if there were a lot of problems with the Delta variant, we would be actually seeing a spike. Personal consumption expenditures are still on a tear. We've seen a slight uptick in the 30-year fixed mortgage rate, and you can see the CPI is just becoming unsustainable. Let's have a look at the 5-year break-even inflation rate. It's starting to come down to that support level. The 5-year forward inflation expectation rate really took off. It's good to see it coming down. However, the 10-year break-even inflation rate is actually had an uptick. We can see the TLT still increasing. The 10-year Treasury note yield is below resistance. The 30-year Treasury bond yield sought to actually retest that resistance. Still under. High-yield corporate bonds are under resistance. The airline index gives us an understanding if travel is shutting down. The airlines are showing a bit of weakness. Transportation is quite sensitive to shutdown. We can see it's just below this resistance. Utilities continue to consolidate above support. Gold is selling back to this support, but it has quite a lot of support coming under and supporting that price as well. I wouldn't be at all surprised if we see gold start to make a move up. Silver is seeking to recover. Copper is highly economically sensitive. We've seen quite a sell-off here. Let's hope it doesn't continue selling off. So far so good. It's at a level of support, but we need to keep our eye on this one. Brent oil is also very sensitive to macroeconomic issues. We need to keep our eye on this. It's selling off. Like Brent oil, like crude oil is the same, very sensitive. It's selling off, but we've seen a little bit of support here. The dollar typically becomes a flight to safety. We've seen an uptick here. It's testing this lower level of support at the moment, just kind of midway, just really consolidating in that. Let's have a now look at early warning system for crypto and stocks in general. We're seeking to determine if there's any weakness. Apple is coming back, retesting that support. Microsoft is below resistance. Google is seeking to test the upper boundary of that resistance. We're seeing weakness in Amazon stock, a high, a lower high, coming back to that support. Facebook has shown a bit of strength, bouncing off that support, seeking to reclaim that resistance. Tesla is above this support. Nvidia has overcome this resistance. It's resuming off again. PayPal showed a lot of weakness recently. It's just seeking to resume off that support and heading towards the next level of resistance. Netflix was literally at support. It's resumed back off. Square recently broke through resistance. It's now coming back for a retest at support. Bitcoin holdings across ETFs, countries, public companies, and private companies has just recently increased to 1,475,441. If we look at Bitcoin, we can see it's moving in a wave. It has pretty heavy structural resistance above. It looks like it's overcome immediate resistance and is seeking to challenge that structural resistance line. Crypto total market cap is also increasing after coming down, retesting that particular support line. It's resumed off. Grayscale Bitcoin Trust is below resistance. QBTC, the Bitcoin Fund Canada, is above support. Bitsy CoinShares Physical Bitcoin is coming back after dropping below support and trying to claim back support. The Purpose Bitcoin ETF is doing well. It's resumed from its previous downward price momentum and is above support. RK, the Innovation ETF, is showing some strength. It has been consolidating recently. Coinbase Global is showing a lot of power. It's just literally has two supports now below it. Galaxy Digital is seeking to break out of this resistance. It's just slightly above it at the moment. MicroStrategy has broken out of this resistance, come back and tested support and resumed off. Riot Blockchain is still below resistance. Silvergate Capital Corporation is below resistance. Marathon Digital has increased its Bitcoin holdings by about $260.7 million, up to 6,225.6 Bitcoin. It is just below resistance. Voyager Digital is breaking out from resistance quite strongly. Hive blockchain is seeking to break out from resistance too. Bitfarms has broken out from resistance, turned it into support, and is on a tear. Argo blockchain broke out from resistance and it's consolidating in a downwards direction, but still above support. Bit Digital continues to do very well. It's showing a lot of power. Bitcoin Group hasn't really managed to break out from this resistance yet. Hut 8 Mining Corporation is challenging this current resistance. We're about to go through the top performing cryptos over the past 7 days, but I did this 4 days ago. I just want to remind you of beware of negative air. The concept, we have a line, a trend line. The trend line, when price doesn't reach it, it becomes negative air. So price trading below a resistance level creates negative air. You look at this trend line up here, price is trading below, that is negative air. I think that will help you. When price trades above a particular support, it can be said to have positive air. Remember, price is always moving in a wave. It's always going up and down, up and down. That's just what it does. The reason I've done this analysis is many people actually privately message me and say, Ken, how do I pick a winner? I think that a really, really good idea is to take winning cryptos and just see how they play out. What we're looking at, about 5 days ago, 4 to 5 days ago, I set these lists, the greatest positive gainers over the past 7 days and highest negative losses or highest losers. This can give you an idea. I've set up a very specific structure that is comparable, these two lines. Just check them out. You'll see signs of strength and signs of weakness. Okay, let's look at Rune. Rune has positive air. That's really fair. That's good. We can see Anchor came back from that high. It's consolidating. A lot of people, when they get into any particular crypto that's really tearing away, they typically buy at the top. Price comes back and they think they've made a wrong decision and they can sell there. This is just normal price action. Just keep that one in mind. Big rallies up tend to require consolidation. Doesn't matter what the time frame, it's always the case. That's a really, really important knowledge gem. We can see Anchor has positive air, fresh air above support. Another really good thing is to compare so many different cryptos against what you hold, your beloved altcoins. Have a look at Neo. Neo has maintained and held this support line quite well. It did a bit of a breakout. It's coming back into retest. That's quite different from Anchor, isn't it? And quite different from Rune. Have a look at the difference. Rune keeps on going up. What's Anchor doing? Anchor's going up in steps and coming back. What's Neo doing? Hugging the line. They all have their own personalities. I really love to show you as many alts as I can to just really open your mind to the investing universe. It's so big, but please keep yourself confined to the top 100. Anything below the top 100, you can lose everything. Sia coin exhibited a bit of power here, but it was quickly squashed down. It's still maintaining this support line. Relatively speaking, Luna is doing really, really well. It's rallied up, had a bit of a tracement, but continues to go up above support. DOT managed to rebound from that support. That's looking quite good now. Quant came back, tested that support and has resumed back off. Bitcoin Gold is weakening. It's on the underside, so it's below resistance. Link is retracing to support, but it's holding that support level quite well. That means price is increasing. It's not quite as strong as the other tokens, the other coins, but it's doing well. Look at Solana. This is a beautiful chart. It has resistance that it turned to support. There was a resistance and it turned this to support. It's in a cradle. I love cradles. That is really nice pattern. Digibyte is below resistance. It's showing a little bit of weakness. XRP is below resistance too. ZRX is at support. Uni has managed to recover a bit, just trying to reclaim that support level. About 5 days ago, Talcoin was the greatest 7-day percent loser. Let's see what's happened since that time. Talcoin has continued to decay in price. T-Fuel has continued to decay in price. ICP has continued to decay in price. MDX has now sought to consolidate around that price level. We'll keep our eye on this one. Sushi is consolidating. Algo is seeking to consolidate, but it can't hold that consolidation. It's getting pushed down a little bit. Doge is below this resistance. We can see Comp has actually managed to get above this once resistance, turn it back into support. It's being cradled as well. This is quite good. SHIB is continuing to lose price momentum. Look at that negative air. It's creating a problem for SHIB. Theta has held up quite well. It's consolidating, looking like it's got a bit of power in it now too. One is consolidating below resistance. Matic is consolidating below resistance too. Mana looks actually technically more healthy than the other coins. Why is that? Because this resistance line is actually supporting the price of Mana. This is quite a good chart. We need to keep our eye on this one. IOTA is still below that resistance level. That means there's negative air in there. Negative air, beware. ICX is exhibiting a really good structure as well. You can see this resistance here. It's broken above that. It's now turned that to support. This up channel of support, it's maintaining it. That's quite healthy too. SNX is currently below resistance. Phantom is below resistance. You can see that negative air above it. These particular tokens are not in the top 7-day percent gainers or losers, but I thought I would raise them to your attention because they have unusual strength. So Axie Infinity AXS, we can see this level of resistance now turned to support. Price broke out and is consolidating. You know that's really normal. Passing through this level of resistance, AXS is off again. At the moment, what do we know about everything? Price moves in a wave. We never FOMO into any trading. Remember that when you're an investor, you automatically become a trader anytime you buy or sell. You want to do it like an institution. Really get the best possible price that you can get. That will make you more of a financial blessing to yourself and those you love. I found Carver's chart to be quite intriguing. It's currently below resistance, but I'm keeping my eye on it. If we have a look at onchain, we can see this upward channel once resistance has turned into support. There's quite a good degree of support here, and now it's turned to resistance. It's consolidating currently. Stacks is the last one we'll look at. We can see it's under support. Under resistance. The really interesting thing is that I showed these particular ones because they were showing strength relative to the market about a week ago. It's quite interesting to track them to see how price plays out. The more familiar you are with price movements, the better you can invest in your beloved alts. I have a really cool gem for you. Because you've stayed to this point, I really honor you. You're amazing. Now have a look at this. This is a real gem. Forbes said 3 hours ago, Fidelity buys 7.4% of Bitcoin mining company Marathon Digital. The article is saying 2 weeks ago, Fidelity bought on July 22nd, and it put 7.4% worth at approximately $20 million in Marathon Digital holdings. They say in the Forbes article that combined these 4 different funds have a capitalization of $170 billion. There is a portion of these funds devoted to Marathon, but they say it's tiny. Now, I want to show you something really fascinating about the news. Keep your eye on a couple of things. 7.4% stake, $20 million, Fidelity, Marathon Digital. I always fact check the news. I'm really interested to see the deeper detail. If I go to the fidelity.com website, get a quote from Mara, and have a look at the ownership and insiders, what do I notice? Fidelity Extended Market Fund has got $13.1 million here, but it's not registering anywhere else. That could be just because the news is, the latest news, hot off the press. But it's interesting, it's not, Fidelity's investment on the Fidelity website is not showing. Do you remember that 7.5%? It's interesting. The market cap right now of Marathon Digital is $2.7 billion. 2.7 billion times 7.5% is $202.5 million. That's a little bit above the $20 million that was quoted in the Forbes article. I know it's really possible to make mistakes, and leaving a zero out and putting a zero in is quite possible with things, but it's just really interesting to do your own research. I really love this quote from Henry David Thoreau. It's not what you look at that matters, it's what you see. When I look at the news, I see I need to fact check it. I need to see if it's real, because so many times it's not real at all. I hope you found the content useful. Everything I do for you is free. Please be aware of scammers. Thank you very much to our moderators for keeping the community safe from scammers. You're doing an amazing job. Thank you so much. I'd like to extend a big warm hello to our community as well. It's such a group of amazing and beautiful people. I'm finding that I'm focusing a lot on trying to get the best research for you. When I reach out with a heart and a like, that basically says, wow, you are the absolute best. Thank you so much for commenting. And of course, if you're new, I would like to thank you for being part of our little community. It's really beautiful to have you. I do these videos to assist you to be more of a financial blessing to yourself and those you love. Please reach out and say hi and let me know of any questions. I always read the comments. I read them across Facebook, Twitter, Discord, and YouTube. I really, really want to provide the best value I can possibly provide to you. Even though I do it free, I'm really committed to what I do. If you would like twice daily updates, 7 days a week on price movements in the crypto market, please subscribe to YouTube, join us on Facebook and Discord, and you can follow me on Twitter. All of these groups are free. Crypto is really volatile. Please prepare yourself for the best and the worst case scenarios. Reality will likely be between them. Stay safe out there. Take care and see you next time. Bye for now.